Mark, you've come a long way. You've seen a lot of things in life, and you've had a lot of dreams, and you've actually done some pretty impressive things. You're big into union, or you have been. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I have always had a dream to play professional sports, and rugby union after school was the sport I chose. So I just went hard in that, and yeah, just had a dream of being the best in the world, or the best I could possibly be. I had a dream to play professional cricket or rugby or anything I could get my hands on where I could be famous.
Did you have any daydreams when you were young, just thinking about it?
Yes, and that got me into a lot of trouble because people would think I was disturbed when I was off in my own little world, imagining greatness. But,
really?
Yeah.
So is that real? You'd step out into the playground and just sit and imagine?
Yeah, definitely, but even in my lounge room, closing my eyes, hearing the crowd, yeah.
Really? Hearing the crowd scream?
Yeah.
I wanted everyone to think I was really cool, and I wanted to be like one of the popular girls, so I was really afraid of people's opinions of me, and I was always seeking their approval. I cared so much about what other people thought that I didn't want them to think that I was conforming. Like, I would go out of my way to stand out so that I wasn't conforming, even though in that sense, because I cared what other people thought, and I kind of was conforming. Like, because, there are so many people out there who are conforming in the sense that they all care what people think, and because I cared so much, I didn't want to conform, or I didn't want people to think that I was conforming, so I would wear things that made me stand out, and I would say things that made me different, and when people started using my lines, I would be like, oh, I started that, and I always wanted to be the one who was standing out and who was original and innovative. And
why do you think it was that you were craving for that kind of affirmation?
I think a lot of it had to do with me just wanting to be loved and wanting to be adored, but also just seeking affirmation and someone to tell me that I was great. And if I played sport and if I did it well and if I beat other people, then they had no other choice but to tell me I'm great.
Yeah.
And for me to start thinking that as well.
Okay, so tell us the rush of when you've scored the winning try, scored the winning goal, and you look back to your team. Tell us how it feels.
Yeah, it's pretty empowering. It's a special feeling, and a feeling that I'm a part of something, that I've caused something great to happen in people's lives, and they appreciate me for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get man of the match or the equivalent of that?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and how did that feel to be the guy that gets man of the match time after time again?
Yeah, I guess people just start seeing you as that person. I started feeling like I was man of the match. I wasn't just man of the match, but I was man of the sport, and I was man of the team. Yeah. I was the man if this was happening. And then when we'd go to parties and stuff like that after, that's still there. If I'm still with those people and if they still have that view of me from the sporting field, then I'm still that man that night as well.
Sure.
I remember, I went to, a lot of clubs that I went to, they have a line to get in. And when I went with my friends, we would, sometimes we wouldn't even line up, we would just walk on through, and we would feel like so awesome because we didn't have to line up, or sometimes when we lined up, the door people would come up to us and be like, oh, is it just you girls, or come on through, and we'd walk down the VIP line, and that was where I guess we found our, I don't know, we found our identity. Like, I guess that's where we found ourselves happiest. But then at the same time, like then when I went home and when there were no guys around and no girls, and I'd like look at myself in the mirror and be like, well, there's no one around now. Like, you know, how am I going to be happy now? And so it was kind of, I mean, I always thought I was happy. I really did. And I always thought that I wouldn't need anything more than that. But at the same time, you know, I could go into a club and there could be so many people around me and I would just feel like the loneliest person there. Like I'd feel like there was no one there for me. And so it was a struggle, but at the same time, I think I would always overlook the negative side of it. You know, when I was feeling lonely or whatever, I'd be like, oh, that's okay, because I'm just going to party next weekend anyway, and I'll be surrounded by people again, and I'll be loved, and everyone will think I'm hot, and yeah, so.
And so it was a temporary fix.
Yeah.
It was a happiness, but a temporary happiness. It could wear out, and you weren't sure when it would start and when it would end, and you'd long for that next fix.
Yeah, it wasn't stable at all. Like during the week, sometimes. I mean, because I'm in a course where, you know, we have to look professional, and the kind of clothes I'd wear to a club were not something I could wear at uni. Even though, you know, I would push the limits and like see how short I could get my skirt and how low I could get my top, things like that. But so you were kind of looked down upon a little if you still are kind of, if you dress, you know, provocatively at uni and around the hospital. But at the same time, I would still do it because then during the week I could get that fix as well. You know, then I could get guys at uni to look at me, and, you know, just guys on the street to look at me. Like, I remember in my first year of dentistry, when I was really starting to party a lot and noticing that I could get guys to look at me, I would walk around on the street and just like, I would be so aware of whether guys were looking at me or not. I'd be like, oh, he's checking me out, and he's checking me out. And
I guess sometimes you'd feel like you don't want to step out of that. You wouldn't want to be somewhere where no one knows you. You've carved your little identity and niche right there. Yeah,
and the only thing was that I wanted that more and more. You're right. I didn't want to step out of that group that knew me as this person. I just wanted that on a broader scale. Yeah. So I was prepared to go out and reach higher achievements if that meant more people knowing me as that person.
Partying was just an opportunity to test how much attention you could get from guys and from girls as well, because it's a competition. You know, like you want to not only impress the guys, but you want the girls to be like, oh, you know, I want to look like that. I want to have those guys around me. I want to have those guys checking me out. And
what were your next goals?
I guess just trying to be as famous as quickly as possible, and to play football, but at the highest level, and just be the best and be the most famous. I think as it got more serious, just more and more in sport, it just had to be greater. And in girls, I just had to find the one that was going to complete me, because there was an empty heart and a hole in my heart, and that just had to be filled up by something. So just really getting into sport more, taking it way more serious, and trying to find a girlfriend that would complete me.
I remember actually we had this circle we had this grass area that we shared with the boys' school called the Lowers, and or the boys called it the Flats, we called it the Lowers, and at lunchtime girls would sort of stand in the circle, and then their boyfriends from the boys' school would stand in the circle with them, and you couldn't stand in the circle if you didn't have a boyfriend. So I never got to stand in the circle. So that was kind of like, I was kind of cut by that. Yeah. But at the same time, I was so scared of the boys that I couldn't bring myself to get a boyfriend from a boys' school.
You missed out on the circle.
Yeah, that was like all the cool people were in that circle.
Let's go after school, then you in university and kind of getting into a whole new social scene.
Yeah.
The fears that would have been in your life at that point in time, the way you would have been feeling inside, because a lot of people would have seen a confident girl that is out, doing radical things and looking good, but they wouldn't have seen what goes deep down inside. What was going on inside?
Well, actually, I think I became less fearful when I started uni, because in high school it was really about what group you were in and who you were seen with, and it was a lot more cliquey. Whereas in uni it was like, well, you have classes with so many different people and you mingle with everyone, and so it loses that clickiness, which was, I think, one of the things that scared me the most about high school. And so in uni, I think I became a bit more, I don't know how to describe, I guess I was a bit more free in a sense, because I didn't have those social constraints and restraints, but at the same time, I still really, I still wanted people to like me.
Wow. And for you to be the guy that's the man, and for so many people, like, let's speak honestly, to look up to you, it would have been true, because that was just the world that you're in. You were the guy that was scoring the goals, the girls. True. Yeah, you had attention from the girls.
Yeah.
Am I lying?
No, it wouldn't be a lie.
Okay, so you had attention, we'll say that much, right? But then to know that you're experiencing unhappiness and feelings of well, I'm not even going to say, but you're experiencing unhappiness. That would have been a shock to so many people to know that, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever let that on to anyone?
I don't think at first, and then as it got worse and worse, and as my search got, was reaping less and less results, it was just so obvious. I couldn't hold it in, or I couldn't hide my pain anymore.
So people started to see it?
Yeah.
Really?
Close friends.
Okay, close friends.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I just think it's interesting, because sometimes there's people around us that have everything going for them, and so we wouldn't stop to think about them, or to think about their needs, or to ask them how they're doing, or pray for them.
Oh, man.
Because we think, hey, that person's fine.
Yeah,
They got everything going for them. You had everything going for you. How could you be unhappy?
It's funny you talking about this. One of my cousin's friends the other day, and someone that I know through friends, he was successful, wealthy, good looking, had the cars, had the girls, had everything, and last week he hung himself, and no one knew why. He was a good surfer, good at everything, and it just asks the question, why would he do it? He didn't tell anyone he was unhappy. Nobody knew. But when they look back and they start to see things that were going on towards the end of his life, they can start to recognise the signs that were there. And yeah, I guess it's just so common. And I've forgotten the question.
Yeah, just the fact that people can look happy but not be happy.
Oh, I know for me and for a lot of these happy people that we know and we see, and by talking to them, it's really common.
So you had cravings, and you were thinking that these things would fill them, and so you'd achieve or find the thing that you thought you wanted, whether it was a girl or the sporting, and then you found that it just didn't seem to satisfy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what were you craving for, Mark? What was it that you really wanted?
Just some idea of completion in my life, just satisfaction, just love, the knowledge that I was something good and I was something worth loving.
You're searching for that answer to your craving. Where did you find it?
I found it in God. I was out partying and I left my girlfriend and thought, well, look, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to New Zealand, keep chasing this dream of football. And I just had a knowledge that I had to be there, had to go. So I left my girlfriend and went out and like met other girls and just had the whole single lifestyle and tried that on for size, and just found that wasn't what I was looking for either. And that was a lot worse. I'm a loving person and I missed the love. So I tried to go back to my girlfriend and when I went to New Zealand and left her in Australia, she left me. And for me, that was pretty gutting. So I go to this country and there's always people around in New Zealand. There were always people around and such a busy time in my life, but I just felt so alone. But in that loneliness, in that openness of heart and heartbreak, I was completely vulnerable and completely open to just God and anything that would or could make my life better. And for some reason, because I had a knowledge of this God and from my Christian upbringing that I'd rejected, there was an inkling and a real feeling that that's what I'd been missing.
Sure, because then the question is, what's the more? What more could I need? Sometimes in life it's what other achievement, what greater thing could I do to find what I'm looking for? I don't know what I'm looking for, but I think I'll find it in the next achievement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to surrender everything to God, but at the same time I was like, well, can He really help me? You know, can He really fill this gap, like this void? And I didn't even think I could ask Him to, you know. And I think for people who think that God can't help them, like you just have to ask. I mean, it doesn't hurt, you know. Who's gonna know? I'm not gonna tell anyone that but yeah, you have to ask Him, and I think, you know, if you ask Him and you do it from your heart, I believe that He will help. He will help you, and He will take away your insecurities and your fears, and yeah, like it's just a matter of opening up to Him.
Yeah. Tell us how God revealed Himself to you and helped to heal this identity struggle you're going through.
We're all on a journey, and part of my journey just made me, as I said before, so vulnerable and so open to something more from life. And so when on my path, when I started to encounter, you know, my Christian family and going to New Zealand and just meeting people that said certain things to me, and then my openness to God, He was able to just flood in, because I was so prepared just to put my hands up and say, look, if you're the answer I've been looking for, I'm so ready for you to like figure this out for me. Yeah.
Wow, and then knowing that God relates to you in a certain way, being a young man, and the importance of us young men finding mentors and masculine role models for ourselves. What about God? Does He fill any space in this department in your life?
Yeah, He does. I think, well, in fact, I know that everyone is looking for a masculine love, a strong love from someone above themselves, and that if you didn't have a loving dad, then that can really affect you. And if you don't have those role models and haven't had those role models that you can look up to and listen to, then that really affects you. And I think God really comes to the fore in that department, because not only does He have that womanly care and love.
Good, I'm glad you said that as well. He does, doesn't He?
Yeah, like He says, as a mother, you know, looks after her child, so the Lord loves you.
Wow.
But he is also the other side, because he created everyone. He is also that masculine, strong, encouraging affirmation that we need.
Yeah.
Just to say, stand up, boy, like, I love you, you are a man, I gave you a strong name and a strong foundation to build your life on.
Well, how did it feel, Mark, to have God say to you, Mark, you're my son, I'm proud of you?
I remember the first moment I was in church listening to a speaker, and it was the first time I ever felt that I could live my life without playing football. And that was in church when I felt God, and he was just accepting me and made me know that I was accepted without having to do anything, that I didn't have to prove my self-worth through sport, through women, through anything, that I was just loved straight away.
Wow.
Yeah.
And have you ever felt yourself within your mind look up to God and see him smiling and approving of you?
Yeah, absolutely.
What does it feel like, man?
Oh man. It's the most incredible feeling in the world, knowing that you're doing God's will, that the creator of the universe is approving of how you're living your life and what you're planning to do with your life. Yeah, it's fantastic, beautiful.
Wow. Does he offer that to everyone else?
Everyone, yeah, everyone in the world. Not only does he offer it, we're designed to feel that. Yeah.
Can it heal the wounds?
It can heal the wounds, and I mean, it's not a matter of you going, God heal, done. But he takes you on a journey, you go through experiences, and yeah, he heals the wounds one way or another. Yeah, you open them up to him, and he'll clear it up. Yeah. It was funny. I was watching Evan Almighty, the movie, and God, the God character, played by Morgan Freeman, says to Evan's wife, you know, when you pray, when someone prays for courage, does God just zap you and are you just instantly courageous, or does he give you opportunities to be courageous, you know?
Yeah.
When you're praying for love or feelings of love, does he just zap you with these happy feelings, or does he give you opportunities to love or be loved? Yeah, and that's what he does.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah. Good stuff. And then revisiting just the union days and just that part of you that wanted to be affirmed and loved, and to score the goal and step back into the moment and what you're dreaming for, and that wanting to have that applause and the adoration of all the fans. Do you think, looking back on it now, do you think that was a craving for the love of God?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it wasn't bad to want to be adored, was it? It's not bad to want the crowds to cheer you. It's because you want that kind of love. We need it.
Yeah, we need it. Everyone needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you feel like, just look back, and do you think that was your little heart, the little heart of a boy craving for his father's love, knowing God as a father? Do you think that you're searching for that?
Yeah, because when I was a little boy, I didn't get told enough what God offered me. So I did look for that adoration, for that love, and just for that complete acceptance that someone famous and well-liked gets. And yeah, I mean, that's all God gives to us, is just that in heaps and bounds. Yeah.
Wow. So when you go home and you're sitting by yourself at night and the crowds have forgot about you, is he still thinking about you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was this revelation I had a while back. I just had this craving to be famous and just to be the most famous. And what I realised is that even if I became the most famous in the world, the most famous person or rugby player, that there was always going to be people that didn't know who I was, and people that just didn't care or that didn't like me, or yeah, and people more famous.
Yeah.
But with God, he doesn't love me any more than anyone else, and he doesn't love anyone else more than me, because he can't love us anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. he gives everything.
Mm.
Yeah, everything, and nothing held back, and you can trust in that kind of love. And the thing that's really speaking to my heart right now is just the fear of not being liked by someone, and the fear of having people not like you and adore you and hate you. And that happens all the time, every day, to every person in this world. Yeah, just to have people not approve of them.
Yeah.
And to feel secure, to know that God isn't going to do that to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not going to do it to us.
Yeah, no, definitely not. He can't. Even if he wanted to, he can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just, yeah, he loves us, man. And thanks for sharing how much, that's an amazing journey, Mark. That is really an amazing journey, and thanks for sharing and being honest, because there's just things there that I think no one would have known, and is a shock to a lot of people, but then makes a lot of sense. I think what you've gone through makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it's going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people, because we're all little kids crying out for the heart of, crying out for the love of someone that can love us more than anything we've ever seen in this world.
Amen.
Yeah, thanks for being a bright shining light, mate.
No, thanks, mate. Awesome.